Section 4.5. Now we're into volume of a right rectangular prism. Remember, the volume really means all of the inside. It includes the inside and the outside. For example, if you're filling this here up with water, that would be the volume inside that we're talking about. Whereas surface area was just talking about like painting the sides, the top, the bottom of this block. So volume would be including all of the inside of the block as well. So for the volume formula is pretty easy for just about any kind of a prism. It's always going to be the area of the bottom or the base. Now you can decide what one you want to call the base, depending on how you flip it. I could flip this around this way and call a different one the base. So it's the area of the base times the height. So if the bottom is the bottom of this, the height here would be 2 feet. So the area of a rectangular prism, or the base of a rectangular prism, is going to be the bottom's area, which is funny enough the same as the top. So we're going to find the area of the bottom, and you can't see it very good here, but we're going to have to find the area of the bottom here. Going right down to there like that. Okay, so this bottom, whoops, right here, which is the same as the top. So let's figure it out. The bottom is going to be the area of the bottom is going to be 3 times 6, which is length times the width. So remember, this area for a rectangle is length times width. For a circle, we'll use the area of a circle formula. And then we're going to times that by the height, which is 2 feet. So we'll times that by the height, which is 2 feet. Now let's multiply all this together. 3 times 6 is 18, times 18 by 2, and it's going to be 36 feet. And here's the important part. Since we're talking about volume, we're talking about cubed, or with a little 3 next to it. So here we go. We've got this one here with surface area. We're going to calculate first, and then we're going to do the volume. Surface area being the hardest one. So let's do the front and the back first. The area of the back is going to be 3 inches, like length times width, so it's going to be 3 inches times 4, which is going to be 12 inches squared for the back. So it's going to be 12 inches squared for the front. Now let's do the top, which will also be doing the bottom. So the top, the area of the rectangle on the top is going to be 4 times 8, which is 32 inches squared for the top. So it's going to be 32 inches squared for the bottom. And finally, we've done the front and back, we've done the top and bottom, now we got to do the sides. Well, we know this side here is 3, and this one here is going to be the same as that one over there. Is going to be 8. So length times width, 3 times 8, will give us 24 inches squared for the one side. So side number 1. And it'll give us 24 inches squared for side number 2. So all you got to do then is add them all up using a calculator, or I could do it all here without one, and you will get your surface area in inches squared. When you're doing the volume, and I'm going to bring him all the way down again, when you're doing the volume, remember it's going to be the area of the base multiplied by the height. So let's put that formula down again. So volume equals the area, and I'm going to put a little b here so you don't forget that's the area of the base, times the height. Now I'm going to call the base the bottom right here. I'm going to call that the base. So it's a rectangle, so it's going to be length times the width times the height, of course. So what's the length of the bottom? Well, this here part here is 8, The other part across here is going to be the same as up there, which is going to be 4. So it's going to be 8 times 4 times what's the height of this entire thing? It's going to be 3. Multiply that together. 8 times 4 is 32, and then 32 times 3 is going to be 96. And if it's in inches, we should do inches cubed. And there's our volume of our rectangular prism. The only other way to make this hard is if you weren't given maybe the length. So, if you're not given the length, all you'd have to do is leave that as the letter L. But if you were given the volume of 96, then all you've got to do is solve for the letter. So solve for L. So how do you get rid of 4 times and 3 times, which is 12? You divide this by 12, and you divide this by 12. So let me give you a quick example of how you do that now. So, do it in a different color. If I were to work that out, 4 times 3 is 12, so we got 12 times L, and we got 96 on this side. Divide this by 12 to get rid of the 12. Divide this by 12 to get rid of, there we go, to get rid of whatever's extra here. And I could certainly use the calculator on this one. So 96 divided by 12, and the answer is 8. So L equals 8. The length of the side equals 8. We already knew that anyway, but we just proved it then by calculating it. So if you're given the volume, just put in your volume, and then whatever you're not given, leave it as the letter and solve for that letter. When you're doing a right triangular prism, it's still going to be the area of the base times the length. So the formula does not change. Now the length in this case can be the height as well. Depends on, again, how you have your pyramid tipped. So it's going to be the area of the base. So in this case I got the base put on the bottom, right here. And then it's times the length. And if you remember from way back, the area of a triangle, okay, the area of the base or the area of a triangle is going to be half the base times the height. So once you find the area of the base, which is going to be half of 5 times, in this case, the height. We've done that one before, and I believe it was 2. So half of 5 times 2, and then times it by the height, which is the height of the entire thing. So let's do that one down here. Volume equals the area of the base times the length, or the height in this case. So the area of the base is going to be half of the base of the triangle, so half of 5, times the height of that triangle, which is 2. And then we're going to multiply that by the length of this guy here, which is 2 again. So half of 5 is 2.5. We're going to have to times that by 2, and then times that by 2 again. So let's double 2.5, and we get 5. Let's double it again, and we get 10 inches cubed for the volume. So it's actually a little bit easier to calculate the volume of a prism than it is the surface area, because you've only got to calculate the base area and then times it by the length or the height here. So let's look at this one here. Remember our formula for the volume. It's going to be the area of the base times the height, or the length, whichever it is. So right here, we're going to look at the volume is going to be equal to area of the base is a triangle. So half the base of the triangle times the height times the height or the length, which will be this one. So I'm going to put the length. So half of the base, half of 8 is 4. And then we're going to times that by the height of this triangle, and that's going to be 10. And then we'll have to times that by the length right here, which will be 60. So 4 times 10 is 40. Times that by 60, and the answer is 2,400 centimeters cubed for the volume of this entire thing. So right now this is the length. If I were to rotate him, say, like this, then it's the height. So it all depends how you look at it as to whether you call it the height or the length. Here's an example when you're given the volume, but you're not given the length here. So we don't know what this L is right here, this length. So remember our formula. Volume equals the area of the base times the length, or the height. In this case, it's the length. So we're given the volume, so let's put that in there. Are we given the area of the base? Well, the area of the base of a triangle here is going to be half of the base, so half of 15 times the height, which is 10, times the length, which is L. Now, we can do half of 15, which is 7.5, and then we've got 10, and then we've got L. We've still got 1,200. 7.5 times 10 is 75. We've still got L there, and we've still got 1,200. Get the L by itself, we divide it by 75 to cancel it out. Divide it by 75, and we'll have L left all by itself on one side. So let's do 1,200 divided by 75. And our answer is 16. And what was our units? Centimeters for our length. Since we're only talking about length, we're only talking about centimeters. And that's how you find it if you're given the volume and you're not given something else like the length. You could even be missing this one or this one right here and asked to calculate one of them. So just solve for the missing letter.